Everybody likes topwater season, and it's one of my favorite as well. What I'd like to show you today is how to rig a buzz toad so that your buzz toad stays upright every time, and it also gives you the best opportunity for a good hook set every time. We're going to start out with the rage toad. Now remember, you can rig any toad the way I'm going to show you right here. The rage toad is probably the most aggressive topwater toad on the market. First thing to remember is let's pop these little tails loose. Just pop them loose. They've got tear tabs on them so that you get all the action from the tails. Another thing to remember is always use a heavy wire hook. This particular hook is a 5/0 EWG, and it's a Gamakatsu. It's a great hook. It's a perfect hook for this toad. And I'm going to show you how to rig it. All you do is you go in the nose about a 1/2 inch and come out the chin. Slide your hook all the way through, spin the toad around. I always like to cover the knot with the end of the bait. Then on the bottom of the toad there's a line that goes right down the bottom. Push the bait forward like this, pop it through the back right in the center, and on the back there's also a hook slot. You'll see the little hook slot in the back. This gives you the opportunity to skin hook the bait, and this is one of the most important parts no matter what toad you use. When you skin hook the bait, make sure that you skin hook it and the bait, look, it looks like a little boat. See the way it's kind of turned up? The nose is turned up here and the belly is pointed down. That's an important thing about rigging any toad that you use. In order to keep that bait upright every time, you want to rig it to where it's rigged just like this. And then when it goes through the water, it'll go through the water upright every time. Here's what happens to many times when they're rigging toads. They'll skin hook it like this. Now notice that the back of this toad is bent upward. What that does is it causes this toad to run upside down every time. So remember, when skin hooking, that's the most important part when we're rigging a toad, is to skin hook it so that the toad stays relatively straight and with that belly bowed down. You see how that works? And it'll run upright for you every time. So you might want to check that out. Now I'd like to show you another one of our topwater baits. It's called the Rage Shad. We're going to do very much the same hookup situation that we did with our Rage Toad. The Rage Shad is definitely the loudest and most aggressive topwater bait out there. And a thing to remember about this is always rig it with the tail facing up. You want it coming through the water with the tail facing up. There's a tear tab on the back, we just pop it loose. Free the tail up. Also, use this same 5/0 EWG, and I like the heavy wire hook. Go down through the nose of the bait, about a 1/2 inch, come out the bottom. You see that's the bottom back here. Slide it all the way up, spin it around just like we did the toad. And then about 1/8 of an inch from where the tail starts on the back of the shad. Run your hook point right through that and come straight out the back, and then skin hook very lightly in the back of it so that it's perfectly skin hooked here. Now if you'll notice, that shad is relatively straight. It's not bowed with the back sticking forward above the hook. Instead, it's relatively straight. Another thing to remember is trying to make sure that every time we hook a shad or a toad, we try to go right in the center of the nose, and when we come back through with the hook, you want to stay right in the center of the body. That keeps it from tilting over one side or the other and not running true for you. Here's another tip for you soft plastic topwater enthusiasts. If you'll notice, I have a weighted hook on this Rage Shad. You can also use it as well on the toad. I'll tell you the 2 advantages this gives you. Number 1, longer cast. Number 2, when this thing goes, if you've got some wave action and you don't want your topwater bait skipping out on the waves and you want riding the waves, that makes it ride the waves a lot easier. Both the Rage Toad and the Rage Shad will surface for you easily. After the cast, if you if it takes you just a moment before you set the reel and get it back on the top, on the surface, it'll still surface very easily, and you can still run this shad extremely slow, even with a weighted hook. So sometimes you might want to utilize this weighted hook because it'll give you an advantage that others won't. So you might want to try that.